Guys, it's a wrap for year 2024, and I want to say Happy New Year to you all. For me, I call it my year of ease and success. We all know it was a roller coaster ride, while for others, it felt like a never ending journey. And some might even tell you they saw Shege Promax. I mean, with all this tipping wahala, insecurity, the never ending problem of kidnapping and banditry, economy, and the high inflation rates. Yet, there are some people who will say it was the best year of their lives. But hey, no matter how the year treated you, I want to say congratulations for making it through 2024. From me to you, I'm giving you a big thumbs up because you really tried. From the highs and the lows, the challenges and triumphs all through the past year. Yet, you are still here standing strong. And that's a proof that there's hope for a brighter future, especially in this new year, 2025. So, welcome to this special recap on Press Desk, where we'll take a deep dive into the events that shaped 2024. Well, some of this you might know already, while some might come as a surprise. But trust me, it's gonna be an informative and engaging content that you don't want to miss out. And we'll be breaking all of this 2024 recap into two segments. In the first segment, we'll talk about the big issues like insecurity, the state of education in Nigeria, the health sector. Do you remember the cholera outbreak during the past year? What about the mpox virus? Or have you forgotten? Well, we are going to dive into all of this. Meanwhile, in part two, we shift focus to the economy and business world. And this is where most Nigerians actually saw Shege Promax. I mean, the hike in fuel from 195 naira to over 1000 naira. High energy costs, hike in food commodities and transportations. Joining me to dissect all of these interesting topics are two incredible guests. Sijibomi Bennett, a seasoned public affairs analyst, and Bolahon Olojede. He is a business and finance expert. I'm sure you don't want to miss out on their thought-provoking insights. So, if you're ready for a full recap of year 2024 and all the drama it brought, make sure to hit the subscribe button, like, and don't forget to click on the notification bell so you will never miss out on anything here on Press Desk. Let's jump right in.
My 2024 in a wrap. Okay, starting with my experiences during the year. Great, some really great experiences, I must say. Talking about the good parts, I had to work on some projects. I must say that I did not even know were in existence, things that I didn't know were on this earth, in this country, and I got them done, moved on to other projects, and even still currently working on some, and it's just been adventurous, yes. So I had the opportunity to explore, and yeah, I also had some time to travel, like I love to. And also the not so good, I think I had a bit of delays, and this came in from policies, came in from things that I could not control, but I mean, I'd been able to maneuver and come out. The lessons I have learned not to be anxious. Anxiety doesn't help anyone really. If things are not going the way I plan, taking a deep breath, thinking it through, waiting for the right moments to act is also really important. I also learned that you need to increase your knowledge bank. I increased my knowledge bank to also improve my creativity. You cannot do new things with the old stuffs on your mind, with the old information on your mind. My aspirations for 2025, I want to do more than 100 times of everything I did in 2024. I want to do more things, more new projects, read more books, travel to newer places, celebrate more, and I think I'm going to have more fun this year, basically. Yeah, that's it.
So Experience 2024 has been amazing. I would say it's been an amazing journey for me. It's been a year of growth, a year of nurturing, a year of becoming, a year of, audacity. Yes, it's been a year that, God has, showed forth Himself, showed forth His grace, and, enabled me to become so much more. And I can't wait for 2025. I can't wait to experience much more that God has for me. Yes. So it's like I'm growing from 2024 into 2025, and I'm very hopeful. I'm very, very hopeful.
I bless the name of the Lord for the past year. The past year, 2024, was a roller coaster ride. It had its highs and its lows. But I bless God, I came out triumphant, stronger than ever before. And I was able to build resilience, adaptability, and perseverance throughout that year. And also, I want to bless God for the gifts of men. I'll call them community because God really raised men to help me during those highs and lows. And I believe God that in the year 2025, the lessons I learned throughout the year 2024, will stand and as a foundation for me to build upon to be a better person and come out more victorious and triumphant.
2024 was a pretty good year. I had some major achievements, major disappointments as well, setbacks, highs, lows. Yeah. The year started with a very, very, very big disappointment. Yeah. But God came through. It was quite depressing, but I was able to come out of it. Yeah. Midway, same stuff, disappointments and all. But gradually, started getting good. Yeah, I was able to bag my BSc in accounting. Yeah. So for 2025, I'm going to chase those dreams. I'm going to keep chasing them. I'm not going to give up. I'm going to learn from my failures. And I'm going to put in my best. Take new strategies. Be more strategic. Be more logical in my thinking and my planning. And I'm just going to try and do everything with God as my number one, number two, number all you get. So that's how it's going to be. Yeah.
2024 has been a very good year for me and my family. I was able to achieve many of my projects. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful for that. For my 2025, I'm looking forward to achieve more and more. I'm looking forward to expand in my business.
In 2024, I cried, I wailed, I rejoiced, I met people. I went through ups and downs, but thank God I have gotten to the final above the stage of this year, and I'm happy that I'm counted worthy to be amongst the living soul today. And this is 2025. I want to say thank you, Father, first, and I hope this year I get to make new moves, greater heights. I get to greater heights. I make more sales in my business. I move to the next level in my career. I will not fall short. I hope this year be the beginning of my best year yet, and I hope that every one of us have a reason to rejoice this year too.
Looking at the recap of 2024 in Nigeria, major events that shaped 2024 in Nigeria, and big topics that made headlines. And some of the ones I have here, fuel scarcity and the hike in petrol price that we can see from they were selling at 195 naira to now selling at over 1,000 naira. Then we see the end bad governance protest and the cost of living protest. Inflation rate hit record high of 34.6%. That's the highest in almost 30 years. In 2024, there are cases of insecurity, banditry, kidnapping, and or also see cases of stampede at charity events. And in health sector, we saw the outbreak of cholera, Lassa fever, mpox viruses, and other. Minimum wage too made headlines between the federal government and the labor union, which President Tinubu later signed the 70,000 minimum wage. So we'll be focusing majorly on four big topics today, sir. And first off, the one we'll be focusing on, it will be insecurity. That will be our first topic. So for insecurity, in 2024, we saw cases of minors being abducted, kidnapping, farmers' herder clashes, and there's a case of 50 farmers being abducted, and the abductors were demanding over 200 million naira. So now steps are being taken to address the root causes of insecurity, such as poverty, unemployment, and political instability in the country.
Okay, good morning. Thank you for having me again. In terms of insecurity, it's been a problem that have been pervasive for close to 10 years now, if not more than that. But in the last 10 years, it has really escalated. Insecurity started with the advent of Boko Haram in 2009. And along the line, we've had factions of Boko Haram. Along the line, when the funding was not coming like before, we've had the terrorists turned to bandits. Then farmers' herders crisis have also contributed to a lot of the herdsmen turning to bandits. Some of the herdsmen turning to bandits. So insecurity has that's in terms of insecurity or major insecurity in the north. In the south, we've had situations whereby kidnapping has been on the rise in the last 10 years as well, which has been a major insecurity in the south. And a few herders and farmers clashes as well. But having said that, and having given us like a background to all this, I believe this present government have been able to build on the little achievements of the past government. Why did I say little? The past government laid the foundation, but they were not able to really, nip this in the bud to a very large extent. Because the Tucano jets were bought by the past government, if you can remember.
Yes.
Then so many investments into the military were done by the past government. So in as much as we can say the Buhari government tried but didn't reduce it significantly, you will also know that all these equipment and things to fight terrorism are not bought on the shelf. It takes time. And it was during his administration that he was able to put in the investment that Nigeria needed. And that's why I said this government has been able to leverage on that. So if you look at insecurity generally, I'm not saying significantly, but generally, it has reduced. In the last 19 months of this present administration, hardly will you hear of cases of children being marshaled and marched into the bush like it used to happen on maybe monthly or quarterly basis like we used to know. Then you can also see the extent of pounding of some major bandits. So you can see that banditry has always been significantly dealt with. I'm not saying we have a lot of improvements, but we've seen real improvements in these sectors. And you can see that in the North Central, particularly Benue and Plateau State, we've seen a lot of improvement as well. The last time, I think it was 13 farmers that were killed. A life cannot be quantified. But we are saying vis-a-vis what used to happen in those areas, we can see that a bit of improvement has also happen. And even the testimonies from both the opposition and the major party in that state attest to that. So we can see a bit of improvement, and we see more improvement because in the news last week, I heard that I've read that more Air Force equipment are also still coming in, and you can see the police also trying to recruit more. You can see, I think it's the custom that's are also trying to recruit more. So we need, apart from equipment, we need training and we need personnel. So by and large, the last 19 months, I think this present government have been able to build on what the met of ground in terms of equipment, hardware, bought, and have taken it a notch higher in terms of security.
Okay, sir, still on insecurity matters. Sometimes last year we heard about a new terror group, that's Lokarawa new terror group. So, what role can the government play with international cooperation in addressing cross-border security challenges? Because we found out that most terror group comes from outside the country into the country because of the cross-border, especially in the northern part of the country. So, what role can the federal government play with international cooperation in addressing these security challenges?
Thank you for that question. Because we cannot fight insecurity in isolation. We have to combine efforts and join efforts with our neighbors. And that's why it's particularly disturbing. The comment and the interview from the Nigerian president recently, whereby he said Nigeria is trying to give France its presence or a presence in our country so that France can cause instability in Niger, Republic of Niger. Now, I think the reaction of our country has been very, very appropriate. It has not been all about bashing and castigating the guy. We have refuted the claims as a country, and we have now gone ahead to invite him for a talk on how to help each other. Because if we say we want to secure our own borders alone, with the kind of borders in the north, which everybody attests to, it will be difficult. So working with Benin Republic, working with the Republic of Niger and Chad and Cameroon as well, it used to be a joint task force, JTF, and I think it used to be cited in Benin or Chad, but we've not heard much about that lately. We know that the Republic of Niger has opted out of ECOWAS, but being in ECOWAS or out of ECOWAS, the big brother Nigeria has to, harmonize plans with all these countries. We know that funding can be a problem for them. We have to also lead in terms of funding and the personnel and make sure that we're able to secure our borders and also harmonize plans with all our neighbors in securing the West African sub-region.
Is in 2025, we are looking forward to a more peaceful country, a more peaceful community, a country where there won't be any form of kidnapping and banditry. Is it possible for the government to restore sustainable peace to its citizens? Like, can the citizen, we are looking forward to having confidence in the government that all these insecurity problems will be taken away totally? Is it possible that in 2025, at least maybe let's say 80% of insecurity problem will be totally dealt with?
It is a two-pronged approach, and it is not something that the government alone can do. It is something that we all have to do together. Citizens will have to do their own bit while the government leads in this approach. Why do I say that? Nobody is a witch. Even the security personnel are no wizards. When they need information, they need a lot of information, but they also have to try and protect individuals and communities where the information comes from. So, in as much as we can't eliminate all these issues, we can reduce it significantly to the barest minimum. every country of the world has their own issues. In the US, which is like the big brother to the world, to all the other countries in the world, trafficking is a major issue. Even in the UK, we have something, in the US, you have something called Amber Light. So when you see Amber Light, that means somebody, a teenager or a small girl is missing, whereby they have been shipped allegedly to Mexico or to South America for prostitution and all that. Trafficking also is in the West. So people have all their own issues to deal with, even with the so-called technology that all these countries have. So we should not try to compare the bad aspects, but the good aspects. So we look at the good aspect, what they're doing right, and the positive indices in these countries, and we try as much as possible to compare ourselves in those positive indices. So the government should keep on investing in personnel, investing in training, investing in hardware, because the only language these people understand is the language of force. So we get rid of them and make our citizens more secure.
Okay, so quickly we'll move now to the political affairs in the country. In the last year, that's 2024, there are two major elections that took place, the Edo and the Odo, although we saw local government election also taking place in some states. Especially in the Edo state, we saw cases of allegations of vote buying and other allegations. So we want to know, we are looking forward, this is 2025, we are expecting the Anambra election to take place. So in the past election in the country, allegations of vote buying, violence, rigging of election results, among others, has been a major challenge. So how does the government plan to strengthen democratic processes, ensure free and fair election, and address especially the issue of voter apathy?
One, you have mentioned two issues now. There is vote buying and voter apathy. Now, voter apathy is a very serious one because in these days of what's this other stuff called that is used for election now?
The BVAS.
Yes, in these days of BVAS. Thank you. It's very, we can now see the reality. Gone are the days when under a particular president, the votes recorded in a state was much more than the population of the state. So these days, gone are the days whereby votes from the so-called KKK states were always were always ridiculously high. So in as much as we don't have a perfect, I'm not saying we don't have many voters. I'm just saying ridiculously high. We saw the last election, we saw the turnout from Bono, and we saw in previous election what the turnout was or what the turnout were in those states. So BVAS has helped a lot. So we should keep improving on BVAS. So voter apathy, because you can see that 35, most times it's just 30% of registered voters that come out to vote. So in as much as we encourage them, even the people that come out to vote, we still have the problem of trying to get some people out, to get 30% out. Out of most of the 30%, or some of them still have people doing vote buying. Vote buying is something that Nigerians will say has come to stay, but it's something that we can get rid of. How do we get rid of it? We do more of electronic, so that people can, without going out. Because if you don't even go out, even if they come to give you something in your house, nobody will know when you're going to do it. Yes. So another thing we can do is voting by post, as is done in the US. So even before those days, you can vote and it can be recorded through BVAS, through anything that you have voted. So you can vote twice. So with much more convenience, you can vote from your house. You don't need to go there and vote. So you can post it a week before. You can do that, and your voter's card has been struck off, and it's even recorded that this person has voted, and they can see the vote. So those are the things that I think we can improve on, so that at the end of the day, we get more people out to vote and get rid of voter apathy, while at the same time we reduce vote buying.
Yes, thanks, sir. What specific steps will the government take in order to restore public trust in political institutions and combat corruption. That's corruption in politics has been a major problem.
Communication, orientation, and let me say correction. Communication, orientation, and correction. What do I mean? Government communicates more. Let's know what each department or MDA is doing. Let's know the benefits Nigerians could derive. See what is happening in the aviation sector now. People are a lot of orientation is being ongoing about when your flight is being delayed or cancelled. They are doing it in different languages. When people know they are right, they take you up because they know they are right. They know it's within the law. If you don't give me a good service, if you don't give me value for my money, then you have to pay for it. So when people know and they take this up with these people, and these people also will not want to lose money. So that's communication, orientation in terms of reorientating Nigerians about our values, which the president has said is going to do. I think I read that in his New Year's speech, that he's going to do new values for us, new way of thinking, new way of living, and all that. So the other thing is correction. When people flout the rule, let there be no impunity. Let there be no segregation. Let there be no class. What is good for the goose, let it be good for the gander. Let there be punishment. Let there be apparent punishment. So when we do all this, there will be more trust in the people and in the system.
Yes, sir. Quickly, we'll be moving down to the health sector. We saw outbreaks of cholera. That's due to the flooding that happened, the Alao Dam situation crisis that happened last year. We also saw cases of Lassa fever outbreak and Mpox, although the Mpox virus was a global problem. So now we're reflecting on the health crisis in 2024 and what specific policies are being implemented in 2025 to improve early detection and response to health emergencies.
Okay, you have to give it to the present Minister for Health. He's doing a fantastic job. He's trying to get 80% production of all the major and important basic drugs to be manufactured in Nigeria. They're doing renovation of PHC and siting of PHCs, working with the state government in so many nooks and crannies of the country. There's so many policies the guy has brought on board. He has not rested. Is really, really working. We can see that anybody that wants to research that can do that. But having said that, I think maybe because of our wiring or configuration, Nigeria has been very good at curbing global, what are those things called? Let me call it pestilence, or what we call like COVID, like all this stuff. So Nigeria has been very good with that. With it Ebola, people have to, even the West had to send representatives to Nigeria during COVID. How we were able to manage it much more appropriately. People have attributed so many things to that. Maybe our configuration, maybe our wiring, DNA, irrespective of that, we were able to do what we needed to do. What I find most surprising is those ones that are very unique to us, like cholera, like this one that is caused by mice.
Lassa fever, the rats.
Every year. I think as of now, the minister should focus on statistics and data in trying to bring it down, always bringing it down. Let's know that this year it affected 2,000 people, 1,000 fatalities, but the following year we're able to reduce from 1,000 fatalities to maybe 100 fatalities. Let's have data. Let's prepare better for this. So that, because when it comes global, we've confronted and we are very good at confronting and being expert at coping it. But the ones that are like our local stuff, we every year it damages the fiber of our health sector, which should not be so.
So finally, we'll be moving to the education scene, and the first question is related to insecurity because we've seen that most out of school children, poverty, especially in the northern parts of the country, we've seen cases of out of school children being used for insurgency, banditry, and the like. And out of school children has been a major problem in Nigeria. It's been a major problem in Nigeria has also affected, our growth in the education sector. So, what measures can be put in place? What measures can the government implement to address the growing number of out of school children, especially in rural and conflict affected regions?
It's in the hands of the governors. The federal government can just help. Remember when the federal government did 1 meal per child initiative, it helped. And even before that, Aregbesola instituted that in what's this place called? Osun State. And it really helped. And it started things like 1 meal per child, or more, same uniform for all of them. So not so many of those policies are well welcomed by people or well widely accepted. But some of these measures are good measures. So you don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. You take the good things out of it and focus on it. So the federal government can help and bring back that 1 meal per child a day. So not just 1 meal per day, but 1 nutritious meal per day with 1 egg. So that at least a child will know that going to school is assured of food. Imagine, why do many people go to parties? It's not just to listen to music. It's the food. So even if you have food in your house, sometimes you want variety. You want that spice of eating together, dining together. That's what parties are for. Any party in Nigeria, we say any party with no jollof rice is a gathering. So those are the things that the government needs to do. Put in support for the state, but let the state take it up.
Lastly, in our parents' days, that's our forefathers, older generation, we saw the trend was go to school, get educated. Once you are done, you get a job, and at least average life problem has been solved. It's not like that anymore. And there are notions that the key to the padlock has been changed and school has scam. But how can the government ensure that school curriculum, especially in secondary schools, aligns with the skills required for modern workforce?
So the formula is school curriculum. How does it encourage entrepreneurship? How does it encourage business ownership? Now, if all of us go to school to learn something, to learn a career, to learn a profession, and 100% of us are desirous of working in a firm, please, how do we get more jobs out there? So the curriculum has to change. And for everybody that says school is scam or school is scam, you are here doing what you're doing now. If you didn't go to school, will you be able to do this? That's it. Yeah. So at the end of the day, you need that basic education. You need that basic exposure to knowledge so that you can be able to now find your place. I studied geology. I did mineral resources and engineering, OND level. From there, I studied geology, BSc. I did masters in renewable energy. But in all this education in the energy sector, I've never practiced for a day. Theoretically, I'm sound there, but practically, I'm not. But I've extended and transitioned that knowledge into other facets of my business or other facets of my life where I do business. So school is very important. When you go to Western world, you see a lot of Indians in the health sector. I've asked when I meet them, I asked them, is it like a culture thing? Why are you so much in IT, so many in IT and in the health sector? And they always replied, that is the basic. It's the schools that are available. They're like, some of them are like started as healthcare assistants. So when they have the requisite certificates or certifications and the jobs are not there, they find a bit of money, they export themselves to Western world where they can get the job and they wrap the money back home. That's why India is becoming India, the new India of today. But what do we do as Nigerians? We get back there, though we get the money back home, but we badmouth our country, we badmouth our nation. Perception is also key. Impression is key. You don't see Indians do that to their country. They had a prime minister, Rishi Sunak, in the UK. One of our children is trying to be a prime minister there, head of a conservative party. We can see the rhetorics from Rishi Sunak, and we can see the rhetoric from Kemi Badma. So it's a matter of mindset. So as the government is doing their bit, we citizens should also do our bit.
Thank you so much, sir. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. We are focusing now on the economy and business world, the events that shaped 2024 and our expectations. I mean, Nigerians' expectations from the government in the new year. Joining us now to discuss this is Bolahun Olojede. He is the Group Managing Director of Capital Bancorp PLC. He is a resourceful corporate executive with work experience spanning about 30 years, half of which have been spent at various senior positions, including executive director and CEO roles. Bolahun is a consummate finance professional with extensive exposure in marketing, operations, and management at various levels. His industry exposure cuts across professional services, investment banking and advisory services, corporate banking, print media, education, healthcare, oil and gas, telecommunications, and the capital markets. Bolahun Olojede is a business and finance analyst. Thank you so much for joining us today, sir. Can you give us an assessment on the economic and business world in the country so far in 2024?
2024 has been a year of mixed bag. A lot of tough situations, and there are also some gains that came with 2024 as well. It was a year when we saw inflation climbing month on month, literally through the entire 11 months for which reports have been released so far, except for 2 months when there was a slight decline in inflation. So it was a year of rising prices. 2024 was also a year of interest rate hikes. So right from the beginning till the very end, CBN continued to increase the monetary policy rate, MPR, finally ending up at about 27.25 or 27.5% thereabout. 2024 also happened to be a year when we saw the foreign exchange, the exchange rate of naira to the dollar move all the way from around 900 thereabout when the year started, 900 in the open market. I went all the way to 1,750 before finally coming down a little bit to 1,650 in the open market, where in the regulated space, it's about 1,500 something, less than 1,600 at the CBN window, or the so-called NAFEM windows in that neighborhood. So when an economy has experienced that kind of a movement in exchange rates, and it's an economy that is still largely dependent on a lot of importation, the effect on the economy is rising prices, which is part of why it was very tough in the economy to manage the inflationary trend in 2024. Food remained a major issue in 2024, and it remained at the arrowhead, leading the inflationary pressure that we experienced in 2024. So the cost of food remained very high, and it's a major driver of inflation. Energy cost was also high and remained high throughout the year, and that is right next to food when it comes to the things that are driving the inflationary pressure that we saw in 2024. So that is that about 2024.
So from here, I will begin with the power sector. So the power grid collapsed about 12 times last year, spanning between January to December. And in April also, the Nigeria Electricity Regulatory Commission, NERC, increased electricity tariff by about 231%. That's from about 68 naira to over 225 naira. Also, we saw like the soaring prices of diesel and petrol, which affected the lives of Nigerians, businesses, and a lot. So now, the question I'd like to ask, starting from the power sector, what is the government's long-term strategy to improve electricity supply reliability and reduce energy costs for manufacturers and business owners?
Okay, like I said, energy was one of the major drivers of inflation this year. Next to food is the cost of energy. And part of what accounted for that was the rise in tariff that you spoke about. It was the increase in tariff was not 231 for the entire bracket. Don't forget that there are several bands now. But for the topmost band, which is the band A, that is where you have the largest increase in tariff, the 200 and something percent that you mentioned. So which means that other lower tariffs are not as impacted as the band A people. Now, band A, in my opinion, though for me, if you ask me, I don't think that the power sector has communicated very well with us as to some of the strategic pathway that they are trying to chart for us. But I can only make a guess as to why this has to be so. A friend of mine was in Rwanda recently, and he spoke about how the power did not blink in Kigali all through the time that he was there. You know, so what I just did was I went on Google and said cost of power in Rwanda. So AI brought some information, and part of the information from AI was that Rwanda's cost of power is actually the most expensive around the east of Africa. And he gave a number. When I did a conversion of that number, I found out that the cost was an equivalent of about 350 naira per kilowatt hour. Now, it will appear that one of the major problems in the power sector is the tariff, is the pricing of power. There is a lot of subsidy that is involved in power. It is not encouraging the right level of investment to come into that space. And if there is no major investment coming into that space, then our power situation of the day you saw 5 hours, you're happy, the day you 7 hours, you're happy, which we have suffered for the last 50 years or more, will remain as it is perpetually. So if we're going to be able to step out of that problem that have besieged us for so long, there will be a need for certain restructuring of tariff in that space. Or maybe what we should even be saying is implementation of the multi-year tariff order that has been in that place, which we have not had which we have not been able to implement because we were scared of how that will impact the economy and this and that. Is it that we are now at that point where we are ready to implement? And what are the kind of, how we intend to cushion that effect for the people, especially the lower rung of the ladder? To be honest with you, Band A, in my part of Lagos, has been an excellent situation. We have literally an average of 23 and a half hours of light every day. However, the cost of that electricity has also like tripled. I know how much I used to spend, but it has gone up about 3 times what I used to spend. So what I, on a personal basis, have done is some sort of lifestyle adjustment. We had 3 freezers in my house, and I remember seeing one day that one of the freezers has been put off and emptied totally, so that whatever is there can be put in the other fridge. We're trying to find all those lights that everybody will just put on everywhere. No, there is no room for that. If nobody is in a particular place, the light should not be up. You put it up. When government is paying for it, that's when you talk about subsidy. When government is not willing or able to pay for it, it passes the cost on to the consumer, the private people, to pay for it. And, you know, there will still be some element of intervention here and there anyway. So I don't think we're going to go back. I don't think we will go back to the cheaper power days. I think that the increase in tariff should be used to finance the rest of the chain, because what we're saying is that there has not been enough investment in that space. If they are now, if these power businesses are now earning more from the increased tariff, they should be able to deploy this additional fund that has been made available to them to invest in the system and ensure that the benefit of 23.5 hours that they are giving certain people can also be passed across to other segments of consumers. It may not be the same, because some of these consumers are not even heavy consumers, but they are still Nigerians and deserve to be able to access electricity, you know. So the same will also extend to the commercial sector. Commercial tariffs are different from the residential. So we must be able to look at the cost that will encourage investment in that space so that we can make available power to consumers, whether you are commercial or you are residential.
So now we'll move to the prices of diesel, the soaring prices of diesel and petrol. We know that it has affected the lives of Nigerians so much, and especially business owners. How effective has the government policies such as fuel subsidy and the exchange rate in promoting business growth and attracting foreign investment? How can this policy, affect the lives of all these investors?
I think, removing fuel subsidy and at the same time, or just a few months after, unifying the foreign exchange rate in the market was a double whammy for Nigeria. And the reason is simple. Fuel itself, at least for the most part of the year, was an imported product. So when you remove subsidy from an imported product, and at the same time, the foreign exchange rate went up dramatically, the impact was too harsh on the economy. It was a shock onto the economy, and it affected a lot of people, including small businesses who had to, cope with the rising cost of fuel. Those who have to use PMS generators, and that same PMS had gone from maybe it was 400 all the way to 1,000, 400 to 500 to 600 to 1,000 to even over 1,000 is a huge cost. Now, some of these costs, some of the people are able to pass on to the final consumer. Some are difficult to pass on or to pass on fully onto the final consumer. So what you have is a shrinking profitability of a lot of those small businesses that depend on these power sources. However, there are also good sides to what has happened. So while on one side, the cost of energy, which include the diesel and the petrol that you spoke about, has literally been strangulating businesses, but we have also now seen how local refining seems to have kicked in. Now, with Dangote Refinery, about a month ago, we also heard that Port Harcourt, the old refinery at Port Harcourt, had started to produce, whether it was refining crude or it was blending a certain fraction of crude. That's another discussion entirely. But the bottom line is that there are production in Port Harcourt, one refinery today. They also heard about Warri Refinery coming into the space with certain level of production. Warri Refinery is a 125,000 barrels per day capacity refinery. So what we think will eventually, or what I think will eventually happen, is that prices will moderate by virtue of certain elements of competition in that space. So there is a private refinery that is producing, there are public refineries that are producing, there are also still importation that is going on, though I have big questions about why importation still has to be as large as it is. But what we're going to likely have is prices being moderated by virtue of some element of competition. We are not going to get those prices to 200 naira. Let's be clear about that, where we're coming from. But we're probably going to be able to see elements of what we saw recently, where some of the filling stations have gone from 1,070 to 980, 985, while there are still some that are selling above 1,000. So you're going to see different prices, and everybody will choose which one works for them. Number two is in the alternative energy sources or source, which is the CNG. One of the things someone like me had expected government to do when subsidy was removed is to also invest part of the savings. We're saying we're not pushing money in that direction again. So that money that we should have been pushing in that direction, we can invest it in public transport system, part of that savings. But it doesn't appear as if a sizable portion of that money has gone into investment in public transportation system. I think most of it have been shared out to the states and local government, and everybody had a jamboree. So there's a lot of money, and people, some of the states even went to the market and started to use the money to build up the foreign exchange. Unfortunately so. If we had invested it in the public transport system, it would have helped dramatically to curb the rising transportation cost and the implication of that increased transportation cost in the economy, because it has its own implication if the cost of transport goes up. But that has not happened. So I'm hoping that we can reap the benefit of this refined product that had been domestically produced by reducing our importation of refined product. If we reduce our importation of refined product, that means the dollars that we used to chase this importation will be available to us. We will save money, dollar foreign exchange, because we have reduced the importation of this refined product. On the flip side, when all these people start to produce, we will produce more than we can consume, and we can start to export. When we export, we also earn foreign exchange. So we are saving foreign exchange on one side, we're also earning foreign exchange on the other side. You combine this together, it will help us to stabilize our Naira. If Naira's situation improves, it will dovetail into being able to moderate the inflation pressure that we're talking about, moderate the energy cost for us, because by virtue of the fact that the rate, the exchange rate has gone down. It will even help, even in the food. If exchange rate goes down, manufacturers who are importing raw materials or commerce people who are importing food materials into the country will have a lower exchange rate, and it will have an effect even on the food inflation that we are talking about.
So lastly, we know Nigeria basically produce oil, although refineries of recent have started working, like the Port Harcourt refinery and some other ones. Now, globally, most countries don't depend on oil again. Especially with vehicles, although Nigeria is trying to incorporate that by producing the CNG buses and the like. But in the coming years, how can we adapt to global energy transition and stop focusing mainly on oil?
Okay, I think we have started on a little note. In 2022, Nigeria declared a decade of gas. What it meant by a decade of gas is a realization that, look, we even have more gas than oil. Why are we not monetizing this gas that we have been gifted? So gas has been identified as the energy of transition from oil. Moving away from oil, it's not going to be easy. It will take a bit of time, but that transition has started with that initiative. Taking gas as an energy of transition as we move away from fossil fuel gradually into the renewables, which is where the global society is going toward. We need to we should not allow ourselves to be stampeded into not being able to make the best of the resources that we have. The Western world have used this same fossil fuel to build their own economy. They've developed based on fossil fuel. And they're now telling us that this asset that we have, we should ignore it. We should move with them onto the renewables. It is an unfair discussion. So I believe that part of the negotiations that countries like Nigeria must be having, or generally the oil and gas countries must be having with the global communities to say, look, this our asset, we still want to be able to have value for it over a number of periods. We agree with you that we need to move into the renewables, but don't stampede us and push us into poverty. That is on one side. The second part is that countries like Nigeria must not wait until the dying hours of fossil fuel to begin to take steps that will make us to be able to compete in a future world in which fossil fuel will not have that much value. And one of the areas that can happen is to be able to, number one, make the best of that fossil fuel now that it is still of high value. A barrel of oil in the market as of today is still over $70. So it is still of high value. Let's be able to produce and produce and produce and make the best of it while it counts. Make the best of oil, make the best of the gas that we have been given. Number two is to begin to develop, is to develop a roadmap that will enable us to move these oil and gas resources into the petrochemical space. In the petrochemical space, it is no longer a global warming issue. When your oil and gas has become fertilizer, it is totally acceptable in that market. So in the global market. So we must be able to transit our oil and gas also into that petrochemical space. So that's my take for that. But at the same time, we are gifted with so many things outside of oil and gas. The people alone is enough resources. And there are so many other resources on this soil, including even lithium. By now, I expect that Nigeria will have had like a 20-year plan for lithium that we found in abundance in Nigeria.
My fellow Nigerian people, you know what I like about us is that indomitable and unbreakable spirit that shines through us. Despite the whirlwind of challenges that affected our lives in the past year and the socio-economic struggles in the country, we have a shared resolve to overcome obstacles and build a brighter future. So, my people, the book for year 2024 has officially closed, and now a new book has been opened. It's left for us to decide how we want to write the pages of year 2025, both individually and as a nation. Now, to the Nigerian government, we all have goals and plans for this year. Individually we'll say, I want to achieve more, greater me, new projects, and the like. And I know the government already has plans to solve the economic challenges and insecurity problems and other problems. But know that the year will be filled with so much uncertainties, testy times, and greater possibilities. So, don't just rely on your knowledge and experiences of the past year, as that alone won't help. Coming up with new strategies is very, very important, as this would help us journey through this new year successfully. From Presdex, we are wishing you a happy and prosperous new year.